now it's time to talk about
console gaming with an E on the end, in case you didn't know how to spell console.
What a roast.
What do you know?
Anyway, so we played actually
Ancient consoles. I mean,
5.
very ancient stuff.
5.
Not quite the original Odyssey ancient, but ancient.
Yeah, 5 ancient consoles that kind of contributed to the overall 1983 crash, because apparently, according to the gaming historian,
Probably older than that, actually.
according to the gaming historian, the reason for it, one of the reasons for it was mass production of many multiple consoles and even more games.
Yeah.
Like over fluctuation
This
of consoles.
stuff
and games.
we're talking about here was before that, though.
Oh well.
This is more like late 70s. Maybe very early 1980 or 81 at the latest.
Well, I stand corrected.
Maybe 82 on the Odyssey 2, but yeah, anyway.
Speaking of Odyssey 2, the Magnavox Odyssey 2
Itself,
console,
which had...
which is not the voice. I thought it was the
He
voice.
thought the console was called The Voice. I was
because
like, what
it
the hell?
said the voice on it,
So-
and I am not aware of this console.
So there's some game called actually I don't even know what it's called. It was a very generic space laser pew, 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 kind of game, and
Kind of like Centipede. Kind of remind me of Centipede.
funny you say that. On the Odyssey 2, because there was a big lawsuit between Magnavox and Atari about the Pac-Man home console rights, because they made a Pac-Man clone, and
Of course they did.
they had to take it off the shelves, so they got back at Atari by making their character in another game eat a centipede. Which is kind of funny, but I don't know what this game was. It looked like you combined Galaga and Centipede or something into one. It was really weird, and it talked.
Plus, this thing looked like a computer, which...
Yeah, it
I
has a
didn't-
keyboard on it.
Before this, I didn't even know that consoles and computers were mixed, but after seeing the gaming historian, it's a mixture.
Well, to be fair, all gaming consoles except for the original Magnavox Odyssey are computers.
Well, with keyboards, and that you can hook up like a Apple One or whatever to your TV.
You hooked them all up to your TV.
Well, not with...
Oh, like computers you hook up to the TV?
Yes.
Oh, a lot of actually pretty much all the early computers are like that. Hell, even the original IBM PC, I can hook it up to the TV.
Oh, well, I did
But
not know that. And,
for another video.
For another video. So, what do you think of this console?
It's not really
itself?
a computer. I always thought it was actually bizarre as hell that they put a keyboard on it, to be honest.
Yeah.
'Cause it's never used as a personal computer for anything. It's just a competitor to the Atari, really.
Probably just to say, hey,
Just as a selling
we
point.
got a
So you can
keyboard.
put in your high score and then have it erased when you turned it off.
Yeah.
But you can type your name in and then see it go bye-bye when you turn it off the power.
Oh boy.
Kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah. This reminded me, this is like, I think it's, compared to Atari, it's a lot better than, Atari on its own right. It's more better flowing. It's more free. It's not like, two-dimensional, like, stick figures, like, doing things in
No.
a barrier.
If I'm being totally honest, I think the Atari has better graphics, actually.
Well, I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm saying that the graphics are more freer and more flowing.
Oh, they're less blocky.
Yes. They're not like, they're more flowy. They're less,
They're more
stuck in.
curved and rounded.
Less than, like a.
I don't know. I think they're honestly about on par with each other.
I don't think so.
Interesting.
But anyway. So yeah, what are the cartridges? The cartridges they like. Sorry, they
No, you said the right word, but it's funny.
They like like they're long rectangles, right? Are they like?
Well, on the Atari they are. On the Odyssey 2,
Yeah.
it's a long rectangle with a carrying handle on the end. It's got this handle that you just hold it. It's the weirdest thing ever.
It's like little kids would just swing it around.
I guess it makes it easy to pull out, but it's not like it's hard to pull a cartridge out of an Atari. I mean, it's not like you're trying to pull it out of an NES where you gotta push it down and then go, oh!
Yeah. Like,
Got it.
How many games was made for this thing?
No idea, but nowhere near as many as the Atari. Not even close.
I wouldn't assume so, because it's...
The Atari had too many games on it.
Yeah.
That's what did it in.
That had too many games. Like, there's too many consoles from, like, many different companies that made too many games.
See, the Odyssey 2
pretty much the same thing.
The Odyssey 2 didn't really contribute to this.
Because it's too early for that.
The Odyssey 2, in my opinion, is not a bad console. It's just... It didn't get the love that Atari did. Atari,
Are you saying this is like a...
had arcade success. They had a background, and they kind of already had their foot in the water. Magnavox, although they had the first video game that was commercially available, that was it. Then they had some home consoles occasionally, but...
Are you saying that this is the hyper speed... Hyperball slash Attack from Mars of a...
Revenge from
Mars of console gaming?
No, not really.
Oh, well... Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're getting at.
The underrated classic?
In that sense... Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I've never owned one. I did have one for a while that I repaired for the local game store, but I've never actually owned a Magnavox Odyssey 2.
I gotta say, this is...
I would like to someday.
This is on par with, like, the Atari for me.
That's what it is. It's a good Atari competitor.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I would,
It's a good console.
Yeah.
It just didn't get the love that Atari had.
Overall, I give it probably the same grade I would probably give an Atari.
I mean, in some ways it's better because you got the keyboard, even though it's such a crappy keyboard, and you've got
the keyboard and
the voice thing where you can make it talk.
Yeah.
There's only one Atari game that has speech called Quadron, and all it says is Quadron, 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 and that's it.
That is the most annoying thing ever.
Quadron, Quadron, Quadron.
You can tell that people on LSD probably made that.
Or more like corporate greed. And I'm not even a liberal.
Oh.
But we're not even going to get into that.
Let's not get into Atari.
So,
for this console...
This game
slash console.
I don't remember the game being very exciting. It seemed kind of like a generic home console, late 70s, early 80s space shooter.
I mean, let's be honest here. Anything video game related back in the early 70s was probably like,
late 70s.
My gosh, this is awesome!
Oh yeah, definitely in the early 70s with like Pong and Computer Space. I mean, what the hell is this?
The
Magnavox Odyssey, which came out in 70 or 69, I can't remember. That's something I really want to own someday, but have never gotten to see.
Overall, for this console, and this one
hold up.
Okay.
Let me talk about the voice part.
Okay.
So, what he thought it was called the voice because there was a voice module that you put in between the cartridge and the console, and that gives speech capabilities. But the speech is like it's not digitally recorded like on, let's take my Firepower pinball machine where it talks, but it's not like the speech is actually generated by the game. It's speech that's stored as sound bytes on a ROM chip in the memory where Steve Ritchie said firepower in a space kind of voice.
This is the same Steve Ritchie as the.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was telling me about
it. Steve Ritchie.
See, for the Magnavox Odyssey 2 voice, it's more like the speech was in my black hole that I had.
Oh, Steve Ritchie. Anyway.
Steve didn't do black hole. Anyway, so yeah, we have a. It's a thing where, you know, the speech is actually generated by the computer, and the actual sounds of the speech are made by the circuitry. It's actually talking. It's not pre-recorded. It's actually saying it itself, and that's pretty cool. And that's why it sounds so much more robotic. It's like, you know, like that. Kind of like Qbert.
Anyway,
but yeah, it's a
Speaking of
cool
that-
console. I'd give it an A for being an awesome console. I mean,
for awesome.
I don't really have much of an opinion on it yet.
I give it a B, solid
Mhm.
B, simply because the graphics are a lot better than
Yeah.
Atari. There's that speech thing, like you said, and on top of everything else, it was it's improvements over all that type of stuff. The graphics are a lot better too. I don't know why you would say that's not, but
I
it's,
played Atari games that have better graphics than that.
eh. From what I've seen from Atari, it's,
You haven't seen technically capable Atari games. There are some that are like first-person space shooters that look like you're flying a ship. It's actually impressive how they pull it off.
I mean, there's
But
the Atari. You
then
know,
there's combat, which
There's-
is like you're a block shooting at another block.
there's
Then there's mini golf.
Atari. There's Atari like arcade games, and there's Atari video games, and
Which
video
are-
games are, yeah. compared
Some
to
of them are
this.
kind of on par with the arcade ones. Like Asteroids, I'd say the 2600 version's a good representation. You can't replicate a vector monitor, so might as well give it color.
Yeah, well, everything. Speaking of Atari, Stunt Cycle Atari console.
Yes, oh man.
This piece of crap.
This is so primitive. I don't even know what year it came out, but I'm gonna find out.
Probably 1983. 'cause
No,
when,
no. That
Atari
is
was-
way. This is definitely a 70s thing.
well,
This is probably before the Atari 2600 came out.
just waits the. It'll say 1983, and I'll be like,
We're about to find out.
oh. I'm going to.
What's it called? Stunt Cycle?
Stunt Cycle?
Well, there's an arcade version of this
I don't
released in 1976, which is the same game but black and white, and has an overlay on the screen. Wow, that's
This
even
one-
more primitive.
This one has different colors. I know that.
1977. There we
well,
go.
never mind then. The same year as Star Wars.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just after you play this
Oh
game.
my god, there's a version of this on the 2600. I've
Of
got to
cour-
find it
of
just
course
so
there
I
is.
can recreate what I did.
Yeah. Speaking of which, this thing sucks.
It's you have
can't-
to remember that it's like pre 2600 or like right around when the 2600 was first launched.
Listen,
So
if you're
it's
going to
pretty simple, and it's like that was all they had at the time.
listen, if you're going to make a
Listen.
game that you need to jump over a block in order to go over, and you are physically unable to do so, then it sucks.
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't quite understand how you played it. I
This
kind
is-
of figured it out. It's something about you have to go over it at a certain speed to make it over it. And Oh yeah, and here's another thing, and I meant to say this about the Odyssey 2 voice, and it applies here. On the Odyssey 2 voice, the speech came out of the speech module, not out of the TV. This was funny when it talked. It sounded like it was different. Same thing with this. The sound effects came out of the console itself and not the TV.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
It's like if you play Miss Pac-Man on the Apple II. God.
That's kind of...
It's the same way. The sound comes out of the Apple II and not the TV.
It's kind of interesting.
It's like
It's like more work for less reward, I guess.
Yeah, but for a computer, it's not necessarily for gaming. I mean, you can game on it, but it's also more for computing power and usability over gaming ability, I guess.
Yeah, I'd rather have more memory and more function of the computer itself than having it, yell at me. I guess.
And say what I universal space cadet. I don't know whatever it says.
Anyway,
Uh,
this game sucks.
it was a lot of fun just because I got
So
to make a trailer park customs video, which we will
It's-
maybe post at the end.
Oh, we will. It's so stupid. It's hilarious.
That's why I made it funny. I was like, ready, set, amen.
It's so bad. It's good, honestly.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So
Really nothing more to say except there's like different layouts, I guess. There's like blocks.
Yeah.
You could have the choice between blocks and no blocks.
Yeah.
No blocks was actually kind of interesting. Except you just ride the thing along 3 lines and then all of a sudden you start again. It's kind of weird, but
I mean, I'll probably grade this one with a B.
grade this one with an F.
It's not F bad. It's
I say it's
You
F
think it
bad.
is?
Yes,
Wow.
because it's like
I mean, it's
You
a
have-
cool controller though.
it's a cool controller, and look, for my opinion about it, it's a good controller, right? It's a
Right.
good it speaks to you through the thing, which is
No, it doesn't. This one doesn't talk.
well, never mind then.
It does. The sound comes out of it. Is what I was saying.
Well, yeah, the sound of it,
It's kind of
comes through the
funny.
thing. However, the main purpose of a console and a video game in general is to allow you to play the game. If something's physically not allowing you to play the game, like jump over those blocks,
No,
Something's wrong with it.
I figured it out. Remember,
well, you figured out one, but it's like
it's.
kept on like failing.
I finally got it though. You do, like I said, it's about controlling the speed of it. That's how you get over it. But it's not. It's like the maze on Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man. It doesn't really make sense at first.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just gotta keep that speed, I guess. But overall, I mean, unless they give you in the manual, which I assume they do, but
They probably explain it in the manual.
I guess but-
Atari had good manuals, and sometimes in their 2600 games, like I think with Asteroids, they provided a comic book with it or something.
yeah,
They
I
took
mean,
it so far, it's hilarious.
But with this particular thing, you can't play without this thing either, right? Like this special handle thing.
No, that's the console.
Yeah,
It's not separate. It's built into that.
I don't know.
That's
I
how
just-
they were before the Fairchild Channel F came along.
Yeah, so I really didn't like this thing. It took way too much time. It's not like a Atari 2600 or whatever. You could just flip the thing, like, flip cartridges back in and out. You just get one game on this thing.
You
It's
get
just-
actually you get a few different games in it.
I
I forget
guess.
what they were, but there's a switch and you can select different games.
I don't know. I I didn't like it.
It's usually like variants of the same game, but yeah, that's
So-
Stunt Cycle for you.
Yeah, it's so bad, it's hilarious. Therefore, it's an F.
Stay tuned for the end of the video to see me play it.
Now it's time for the Fairchild Channel F console, or as I like to call it, the G console.
Yes. Fun fact, folks. This is the very first video game console that you could buy games for. I know that seems really trivial, but it's true. Before this, with the exception of the Magnavox Odyssey, but you couldn't really buy games for it. You could have bought an optional light gun kit, but I don't know. That's another story for another time.
This is the first one with games, and
The first one that had game cartridges in the traditional modern sense. Let's put it that way.
Oh, well, alright then. Just so you know, this console is a piece of crap.
Well, it appeared to be. I'm thinking the
G?
controller didn't work or something.
5? 5?
I know.
G?
It-
Is that where 5G came from? Oh, 4G, 5G.
What the hell, man? Yeah, I bet it was.
Well, there you go.
Probably not.
Yeah. This is...
I don't have a lot of experience with these.
There's like a little nunchuck thing.
The controller, yeah, kind of looks like a Wii nunchuck with a joystick at the top that you can... It's cool, though. You can go in all directions, and you can twist it.
This thing does not have a
And there's
computer keypad attached to it.
No.
Thank God, because
like the Odyssey 2.
Yeah, that's stupid. But
Yeah.
however, to say the least, this is it. I guess there was like a competition Pong like game on there that didn't work.
Could have been.
5G or 5 question mark.
Knowing
and,
games from
G
that
question mark.
See, knowing games from that era, I think it probably represented Game 5. Oh, that's what the G was. G's like, pick a game? What game? 5?
Game?
2?
5?
3?
What?
Okay, let's play.
Okay. Yeah. And it was like, oh, green? Gray? What screen do you like? Gray? Green? Gray or green?
Very primitive programming.
It is.
It's not really that much worse than the Atari, though. I mean, it's probably roughly on par with the Atari, I'd say, but the Atari kind of worked out the fine details and made it work. Plus, they had a name already with the arcade industry.
Yeah. Also, I don't have any experience with this, and I don't think you do as well, because...
I think that's the first time I've ever played a Fairchild Channel F. Maybe not the first time I'd seen one, but...
And it was broken. So,
it might have been.
I don't know if we can grade this. Do you want to grade this? Do you think you have enough knowledge to grade this?
Honestly, I don't think so. For once.
Well, I guess this will go, gradeless.
Greatness.
I just thought, hey, we should talk about this because it's a sight to behold.
It is. It's a very important piece of gaming history, though.
It is. And now on to the Astro Smash console. Son?
Astro Smash.
Yeah.
Chief?
Oh, wait, never mind. I guess it's the
In-
quote-unquote game of this thing.
Yes. The console is actually the Mattel Intellivision 2.
Well, okay, never mind.
First of all, yes, Mattel, the maker of Barbie.
Maker of Barbie, Hot Wheels.
Speak that!
I heard that they were trying to get into the video game stuff, but
Weren't as successful.
were drastically failures.
I don't
of
know
that.
about a drastic failure. The console was innovative. It had some cool features that the Atari lacked. It just was done in a bad way.
And what led to the video game crash of
Yes.
1983?
It's part of the console market flood of video game, video game, video game, game. Video game, that's right, video game.
Until Nintendo resurrected it with its strict laws and guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Now, time for a review of Mattel game
Thing called, like, I don't know, like, the Intellivision, perhaps?
Yeah, the Intellivision.
Thank God you said it.
Is
So,
it intelligent? That's why it's called Intellivision.
that's exactly right, Chief.
Oh!
That's right. Yes, folks. The Mattel Intellivision is short for Intelligent Television. Yes, and it says that on a TV commercial that I've watched on YouTube before. You know, I
Give us
do
a,
own one.
Give us a engineering perspective on
Sure.
this. What is like the since you own one, give us the overall layout of this console.
Well, the one we're looking at in the video here is, for lack of better words, the slim model, but they didn't call them that back then. But this is like the slim Intellivision. So I have the fat version per se, and it doesn't really do anything different. I've never had the second one. I don't know if the Intellivision 2 is any better or worse. I think they're about the same. They just, one's kind of smaller. The controllers have that early 80s numeric keypad trend thing that failed on every console that did it. Except, the ColecoVisions was probably the only one that didn't fail miserably. Even though it's still bizarre, at least that one seems to function better.
But it failed eventually.
Well, my ColecoVision controllers still work, I think. They're easier to fix, but another story. So, there's no joystick either, or D-pad. You have a disc that...
Yeah, because Nintendo invented the D-pad.
Right. You have a disc, like a circular disc, that you can, tap in the direction you want to move. And I guess you can spin it. I'm not sure if there's any games that utilize that, but like if you're gonna play Donkey Kong on the Intellivision, just treat it like a D-pad that looks like a circle. It's bizarre, but it functions. The fire buttons on this controller are just atrocious. Wow, good luck pressing that button. On the side of the controller, you gotta ram your finger in there and use a lot of thumb force.
Wow.
Yeah. That being said, like the Odyssey 2, and unlike the Atari, it had a voice module, which I also have, which is called the IntelliVoice.
Oh!
And
It's not like you should have that plugged into your TV. Okay.
No, actually, this one might go through the TV.
Yes.
I can't remember. It's been a while, but
Use those screens that that the inventor of television created for you.
yes.
My
And
gosh.
it's like Mattel Electronics presents B-17 model.
Sometimes, console idiots.
That's exactly what it says.
Use what you're given. Okay. Hey.
And I think they might have.
Finally.
It's got some cool games on it. That
Astro Smash.
there's one called Bomb Squad, which is
I have heard of Bomb Squad. I don't remember.
interesting. The AVGN has that on his video. That may be where you saw it.
Of course he does.
That's actually a really cool game because you have to defuse a bomb, and they make it look really almost realistic. It's impressive for the time, and you got a timer. Then you have to go inside of a panel and use like a soldering iron or something to like change wires and parts out. It's actually really fun, especially if you're into electrical hardware like me. If you like sci-fi stuff, you might get a kick out of it.
I mean, kind of reminded me of Space Invaders, except
I'm not talking about Astro Smash.
I mean, I'm talking about Astro Smash, the
Okay,
game.
so now we're talking about Astro Smash, which kind of reminded Slam of Space Invaders.
Yeah.
And not Bomb Squad.
Yeah, it did. And yeah, that's about it. I guess it looks better than like that motorcycle stupid game.
Oh
and,
yeah, well
a
that's
lot-
before the Atari 2600 came out.
and it's a lot better than most Atari games, I would say, because
That's
it looks-
debatable.
it looks a lot of
It's debatable. It's a
It-
lot less
if
playable.
Space Invaders came out on home console,
Which it did.
which it did, I would think it would look similar to this. Like, this would probably be a good arcade game
Yeah,
with the graphics and all that.
the Atari Space Invaders game is pretty much Space Invaders on the Atari. It's literally what it is. It does a good job. It's a great port, but that's not saying much, I guess.
I guess so.
And the last thing to note is on the Intellivision, they didn't have Space Invaders, but there was a clone called Space Armada, which I also have, and it's Space Invaders, just with a different name. Then there's Astro Smash, which is a nice twist on it.
Yes, it does. So
That's about all I can give for the Intellivision. I haven't played mine in years, actually.
Well, since you own one, and since you played this one, what score would you give this console?
I'd give it a... Considering the time and the features it brought to the table, I'll give it a B.
A B? Okay.
It may be a little too generous for it, but I like it. It's got charm. And the voice part's cool.
I mean, I didn't play it, and I
Yeah.
don't own one, so I can't really say all that much about it. All I
Right.
can say is the Astro Smash game, from what I saw from a distance.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were to grade it, I'd probably give it a B as well, because it looks like Space Invaders and looks like they did a good job, and they had the sound, but I didn't experience anything with it, so I can't really grade it at this time. Hopefully I can find one in the future.
Hopefully so, yeah.
Now
Oh my god.
Now it's time to talk about the Slick Stick console.
Chief, what are you talking about? This is a Commodore VIC-20 home computer. Oh man.
As you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, I do
Oh,
not know
Lord.
anything about these random ass
The early
Things.
pre-Nintendo home gaming
if
industry,
it's
aside
not
from Atari.
aside from Atari, because that's the only one that really counts, honestly.
I don't know. You'll be
Uh,
surprised, as I'll share here in a little bit.
All right, well, talk about the Commodore V20, whatever the heck it is,
VIC-20.
whatever,
The VIC-20,
is a computer.
it is a computer. It
And-
was a huge milestone for the home consumer market. You know, before that, you had the giant names like the Apple II series, you know, hashtag do it for the Woz. You got Commodore PET line. We have IBM coming out with the OG PC. And then, you know, Commodore came up with Atari, or what the hell am I saying? I got my thoughts mixed up, folks. My bad.
Son,
So, what I meant was, Atari was also in the home computer market with their 400 and 800 computers. And, you know, Commodore somehow came up with this concept of a cheap personal computer that's easy to mass produce that can appeal to a wide market. you know, it's practical for use in a small business or something. Great to use in a school, or get one for your home. And the whole family can learn computer programming, as told by yours truly, William Shatner, in the commercial.
Of course he did. Probably was a big sellout.
It did help. It did help.
Yeah.
The games are probably, they're better than Atari. I'd say they're about like the ColecoVision or Atari 5200. They're probably somewhere around there. Maybe a small step back, but a step above the Atari 2600. So somewhere around there. But you know, you can buy game cartridges and plug them into the back of it, but you know, not just that, you can now program your own games, and it's pretty innovative. Yeah, so you can program and make your own games, and hell, you can get you a floppy disk drive and have even bigger games, or
Flippy floppies.
yeah, you know, don't copy that floppy, like that guy said. You can also get accounting software or budgeting software, or like a electronic phone book software, whatever you want. It's personal computing for the entire family, including William Shatner.
Just one question though. Can you get the Facebook?
Shatner says no Facebook, live long and prosper.
Oh man. He doesn't say that. Spock says that. Abomination.
I made Shatner say it this time.
Alright, well.
Spock.
Spock.
And
Spock. It's time to go on the plane. Spock.
play the computer, Spock.
Spock.
And unfortunately, I do not own a VIC-20. I own its
Neither do I.
younger, almost identical looking sibling, the more well-known Commodore 64, which we may review one day because I own that, and I actually have a dial-up modem for it, and I connected it to the internet.
Oh my gosh. Does it still work?
Yeah.
Dial-up internet still works?
Well, yeah, I think so. You have to get the service. I don't have any dial-up service right now, and I don't know if it's worth paying for just to do that, but
yeah.
yeah, I got this computer from like 1984 or 3, I forget the date that came out, but early to mid 80s, and I got it on the internet somehow. I thought that was kind of cool. You couldn't do much with it though.
Huh. Interesting. Alright, well, why
So
don't
that
you,
wraps up the VIC-20.
Yeah, why don't you give your score to this?
Well, first, let me tell you about the game, Slick Stick. If my memory serves me correctly, this is a Pac-Man clone, I think.
Yeah, it is.
It is okay. It seemed very passable, played very Pac-Man-like. I'd give it a B-.
The whole console as a
No,
whole?
the game. The console, well, in this case, computer, I give it an A.
Whoa!
Why not an A+?
Why?
Because the Commodore 64
Is
took
better.
the VIC-20 and got it to the A+ level. It added those missing touches and improved it, and it was a hit.
Put those little spices in there and made it a good thing.
You got it. One
Alright.
day I'd like to own a VIC-20 though, just for the sake of collecting, but my collecting has slowed down due to college, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. And that concludes the consoling of
And
SFGE
home computer.
and home computer, I guess.
Now back to pinball.